Hey Hoopers! Today I'm bringing you a special tutorial on how to transition from the horizontal plane to the vertical plane and vice versa. This tutorial is great for anyone, but especially beginners who are trying to learn how to flow with the hoop and transition from one move to the next. A lot of these transition moves are very simple. For example, the first move I'm going to show you is a simple quarter turn of your wrist. So if the hoop's in front of me on the vertical plane, I can turn my wrist just a quarter of the way, and now it's on the horizontal plane. I can do that in front of my body or also out to the side. Here are a few examples of how to use that wrist turn to transition from one move into the next. So here's an example going from the rising sun into a horizontal jump through. Quarter turn of the wrist, and I'm jumping into the hoop, and from there I can go into waist hooping. You can also transition from the rising sun, transition, and then do a low lasso, some breaks around your waist, or some simple hand passes around your waist. Another way to transition using your wrist is to start with a weave. So my simple weave out in front of me, and as I come around, I'm turning my wrist. So going from vertical, turning my wrist, so now my palm is facing down, and from there again, I can jump through it. I can give it a little pop over my head. There are lots of different moves that you can transition after doing your quarter turn of your wrist, but those are just a couple examples. Another great wrist transition uses a forward bending or backward bending motion. So let's say I'm starting here in the vertical position. I'm simply going to bend my wrists forward and I land in that horizontal position. Or again, starting vertical, bending my wrists back. Now I'm in a horizontal plane position. Here are a few examples of how to use this specific wrist turn to transition from one move to the next. An isolation is another great transition move. When you start with an isolation, the hoop is on the vertical axis. By simply waiting till your hand gets to the bottom of the hoop and turning your wrist, you can go into the horizontal plane position. Another transition move is a half smear or a quarter smear. So this is what the regular smear looks like, and as you can see, it's going a full 360 around my body. You can do it the opposite way. So to use this as a transition move, let's say I'm doing some breaks, maybe I'm doing a low lasso, just doing some hand passes around my waist. I'm bringing the hoop around to the one side of my body and doing a quarter smear or a half smear. The cool thing about these transition moves is that you can use them to either go from the vertical plane to the horizontal plane, or vice versa, from the horizontal plane to the vertical plane. So for example, let's use the half smear or the quarter smear. I'm starting on the horizontal plane, the horizontal axis, and I can use this move to then go vertical. However, I can also start from the vertical position and use it to get my hoop to go onto the horizontal axis. A more advanced transition move is the Flipsy Doo, which was actually introduced by Melissa Stockwell in a tutorial on our Hoop Tricks website. This is what it looks like. And as as you can see, I'm going from the horizontal axis, breaking it, doing an arm wrap, and then landing in that vertical position. If you're using the Flipsy Doo as a transition move, you're actually using a quarter wrist turn. As I'm breaking the hoop, I'm doing an arm wrap, which usually ends up like this, but instead of landing horizontal, I'm turning my wrist downward so that now I'm landing in that vertical position. So again, it's here, but I'm turning my wrist downward, so now it's on that vertical position. Another intermediate to advanced transition move is a hand spin, which looks like this. With the hand spin, you can choose whether you want to land so that you're going into a horizontal plane position, or whether you want to land so that you can go into a vertical plane position. Depending on when you stop the hoop and when you firmly grip it, that determines whether you'll land in the vertical position or whether you'll land in the horizontal position. So giving it that full spin, that full 360 turn, if you're starting in the vertical position and you're doing a full 360, it's going to land back in that vertical position. If you stop the hoop before it makes that full 360-degree turn, you're going to land in the horizontal position. So it's about 3/4 of the way you're turning the hoop. Lastly, another intermediate to advanced transition move is the escalator. So again, let's say we're starting on the vertical axis. We bring the hoop down to do an escalator. We can do the arm break, which allows us to go into that horizontal plane position.